Ba, ba, ba. All right, greetings from the wasteland. This is Freedom Phil, and what's the topic here? I kind of think looks maxing at some points gets a little over the top and seems kind of gay. Like it's the straight version of gay culture. Where am I going with this? This is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it and always turn up the video speed. Why do I say that? Because if you're watching this video at regular speed after I upload it, you should be watching 1.75. The channel's name is literally the instruction of what to do. Turn up the video speed. By the way, like, subscribe. Let's get into it. I don't say this to be rude or mean. Look, if you want to work out and look good, that's good. That's good. But you see some of the extremes people will go to be handsome. And it reminds me of the insanity I see chicks doing on a regular basis. You know, it's just like, what surgery, what this, what that, and all to be beautiful, which means popular, and popular means, you know, people will treat you better and life will be, more doors will be open to you. I don't deny that. That is the truth. The world is a better place for good-looking people. So I understand a lot of the appeal. But when you look at some of the subculture of this, of these, like, it's almost like it's as fake as some of the stuff from pro wrestling back in the day. You know, they're like where these people, and some of them, they don't even really look classically that great. They just look like, you know, you look at the memes and it's a bunch of pretty boys. And you're like, well, his jawline doesn't look good enough, or this or that, or, you know, hair, this or that. And it's like, number one, what type of, like, I understand it's good to look good. There's nothing wrong with that. But what type of fucking guy sits there obsessing like a chick, you know, to the level where it's like, and it just strikes me as kind of sus. It really does. You know, and look, I get it. In a world with social media, you know, dating apps and all that crap, the war is a lot harder for you guys than it used to be. You know, women would be really picky when they have a, like, when the people come to you, it makes a difference, you know? So you see these guys spending money on, like, you know, chin surgery if they could manage to do it. Like, extending their height. Well, I'm 5'9", I need to be like 6 something. You know, if I'm not 6 something, the bitches won't look at me. And it's like, dude, you're literally potentially causing life-changing, you know, like fucking up your bone structure for an extra inch or two. That's pathetic. It's like, you know, back in the day, and I understand, it's like you see some of these guys, some guys do look better with a rug on their head. You know, if you're bald, some guys do look better that way. But my God, talk about an insecurity. You know, like, shit, I go shaved head on a regular because I'm just like, fucking hair's just slowing down my kung fu. I don't need no fucking hair. Learn from Krillin. I see these people that spend this insane amount of money, and it just doesn't strike me. Like, I understand, like I said, clean, good clothing, but all the money and time some of these guys will be spending on looks maxing, you could have got a whole ass trade in that much time. You could have had a portfolio developing. The time that you spend fucking around just trying to, you know, look like you're absolutely, you know, the best for all these chicks. So maybe you get a little pussy here and there, or a lot of pussy if you're really, hey, look, if you're handsome Squidward, you're getting a lot of pussy. Fucking tuna of the sea. But my God, you could have been retired in the time that you spent in your like late teens, early 20s, fucking around, trying to be whatever popularity told you to be, whatever the TV, whatever the screen, whatever the phone told you to be. And it reminds me of like that whole thing of like the Al Bundy washed up jock, you know? Back in Polk High, I ran 3 touchdowns in 1 game. You know, it's like jocks that really were somebody and something back in the day, back in high school. And then they get out into the real world, and that's all they got. That's what the looks max crowds kind of reminds me of. And I'm not trying to hate on them. I'm just saying, when I see these people, I think it's clownish. And by the way, if any of you guys want to talk, feel free to subscribe. See you in the chat. I look at the situation, and I think there's something deeply unhealthy about it. There's something good about being healthy and in shape and well-dressed. But there's something unhealthy when dudes are acting like chicks, even to the point where some of them wear makeup. You know, they're like madly obsessed. Like, I almost think that the people who make all the products, you know, the beauty products, they realized at some point we need to sell the dudes more. Like, you know how many of the products we use on an everyday basis, like soap is a good thing, right? And like the bright smile is a good thing, right? But you realize a lot of that stuff was manufactured by Madison Avenue less than 100 years ago. Less than 100 years ago, people weren't obsessed with this type of shit. They had real problems. Like prior to 100 years ago, we were talking like it was pretty much, you know, early automobile. And before that, it was Little House on the Prairie. You were concerned with having a heated home, food for the winter, and hopefully your kids don't get eaten by a bear or something. Good, sturdy, rugged clothing. And by the way, that makes some God-fearing people. Hardship. And in less, like, let's say in 150 years, how many dudes have basically become, what's that old term? Dandy boys? Like pretty boys. Like, we went from being masculine men, and sometimes I wonder if that theory, Asmongold was talking about this. He said his father used to say that he thinks Vietnam was partially there back in the day to kill off the alpha men. Send all the real alpha, all the real masculine men overseas, and then all the guys that were still left over here were either loser hippies or rich kids in college. Like, look at how masculinity was diminished during the Obama era type of thinking. Like, actually being masculine, like real manly, like you got muscles, you know, you dress well. And just being a regular dude was basically, you know, they have this new thin pretty boy, you know, like the anime pretty boy. It's like the what do they call that shit? Yuri or something like that. You got all these gay characters. It's like they're trying to emulate some of that. And then you got the other side of like the gym culture. Don't get me wrong. It's like I said, it's good to be in shape. But you see some of these dudes that are like just injected, like they remind me of those bowls you see at the county fair, you know, and they're like super beefed up. And he's like, moo. And these dudes are just pounds and pounds of meat to the level where it's not real. Like if they ever stop exercising, it'll be like a sumo wrestler. If they ever get out of sumo, it's over. It's over. If that shit's going to turn into weight. It's not about lean, you know, fast, efficient muscle mass. You guys ever seen that guy with the meme? Has his shorts where it's the guy that acts like he's a janitor and it turns out he's the owner of the place and he's actually super jacked under the outfit, but he's not like this fucking beefalo looking ass motherfucker. He's just, you know, tone and muscle. That's, I think, what people should be aiming for. But we have a world of people that are over-injected juicers and gay, effeminate looking pretty boys that are telling a lot of young men, you got to look like this. You got to look. And mind you, hey, man, those guys are probably, you know, getting the pussy. Don't get me wrong. But in all that time you spend doing that shit, you could have had your fucking retirement already figured out. You know? So like I said, I'm not saying don't work out. I'm saying look good, dress well, be clean. But there's something really, really fucking weird these days about the fact that we have a whole generation of men that are talking about chin surgery. Like women used to be talking about nose surgery. They still talk about getting their noses done, their boobs. And by the way, I personally believe that should be considered false advertising when it comes to women. Like if she had a big schnoz, you're going to want to know that. Because what if you don't want your kids to have a big ass schnoz? You know, I think some of this plastic surgery, some of this surgery they're doing, this should be considered false advertisement. Like you end up having kids with one of these motherfuckers and your kid comes out looking like Gargamel. No. How did this produce that? I think it's only fair that you should know what the people realistically look like. Fucking have a schnoz like Max Klinger from MASH. You know? Dudes doing height surgery. I'm just saying, when people get that obsessed about their looks, when you're a straight guy, I think it's kind of gay. I'm not kidding on that. By the way, if you want to, any of you want to chat, you just got to be a subscriber. Ain't nothing personal. It thins out all the dummies. I don't want the real ones around. I'll admit, I'm an ogre of a man. I am. I'm an ogre. So I don't fit into any of this, but being a kind of an ogre sage and observing reality, I look back at, like, say, the 1970s and the 80s, and maybe a little bit of the 90s. Back when men were just, you were tall, you wore a pair of jeans, and you had a good shirt on, and women had, bikinis, and they were in decent shape and had real hair. The hair colors, like, don't get me wrong, there's some people with some, like, weird rainbow hair colors. It looks good, don't get me wrong. But women had their own hair colors back then. For the most part. Actually, you know what? There were a lot of people dyeing their hair even back then. So what am I talking about? But the point is that it just, people looked natural. Like, look at Tom Selleck back in the day. Look at a lot of the guys that played on the A-Team. Look at the face. He looked like a regular dude. Just a, regular dude. Tony Danza looked like shit. I'm joking. Little story on that. Back in the day, there was this sticker that was all over my hometown. It was from something in the SoCal. Somebody came up with all these stickers, and it was Tony Danza will pay. And it said right on his forehead, food. Apparently, some guy called up a radio station. It was Tony Danza's illegitimate child, and the radio station made up a ton of fucking stickers and was giving them out. And some guy grabbed a bunch when he was down there and brought them up north, up into Western Washington. And you'd see Tony Danza everywhere. You'd see him up on the pop machine. You'd see him next to a phone booth. That shit was crazy. Well, yeah, I think it'd be nice if we get back to just a normal, acceptable way of looks. Not too, you could have a little weight, but not too fat. Not like this fat acceptance bullshit. Look, I'm overweight and I don't think I look good. I mean, I think I look awesome because I'm me, but I don't expect anybody else to. I ain't bullshitting. But then we got on the other side, you got either the pretty boy effeminates that might as well be like little trans dudes, like boy band looking motherfuckers, look like some sort of anime Yuri shit. And then we got the roided out fucking buffalo looking ass motherfuckers coming out of the gyms. And it's just like, this is not a healthy society. We got fucking lardos, fairy boys, and buffaloes, roided up buffaloes. And that's America. The fuck are we doing? I'm just saying. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for stopping by. This is Freedom Phil. Any subscribers, I appreciate it. Appreciate anybody who's doing the likes. I randomly just rant about some shit. Whatever I'm talking about. Whatever I'm thinking about. And yeah, I'm probably going to set up the solar oven, assuming the wind isn't too bad. Cook some pasta or something. Take it easy.